Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. In the history of our nation, we have always been taught that it took the sweat and blood of very gallant men and women in this country to achieve the freedom that we enjoy today. And it began with the fight against the colonial masters. People had to, rise up, and with only very traditional weapons and determination, we defeated the colonial masters. During the second liberation, when people were fighting against the Nyayo era, people had to come up going for what the government had branded illegal meetings, and people paid with their blood. Some who are still alive today remember those moments. And there has never been a vacuum at any one moment. And forces, dark forces and powers that be have always placed stumbling blocks and hurdles along the way. But we have always surmounted the challenges. Just the other day, William Samoei Ruto took Raila Amolo Odinga on his side because Raila has always been part and parcel of the change and freedom that Kenyans have been yearning for. And with that, William Ruto thought that there would be a vacuum, that the message will stop. But he's now realizing very bitterly through bitter experience that you can only kill or compromise the messenger, but you can never stop the message. Raila used to call press conferences to give us bombshell, expose some very secret deals within the government. So when William Ruto ascended to power, I thought by taking Raila, there would be a vacuum, no one will do it. But I'm happy that the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, has swapped positions with Raila Amolo Odinga. I'm saying this because just recently we heard that someone is building a hotel in Ngong Forest. And people have been very quiet, people have been talking in undertones. But Rigathi Gachagua never kept quiet.
Sasa mambo yote imesimama. Hakuna kitu naendelea. Uongo. Hiyo hapo Ngong Forest, Senator Nyoto. Jana nilipoongea, rais ndiye anataka kuchukua 5 acres hapo Ngong Forest, ajenge hoteli na anajengewa na ile watu wanajenga stadium ile ya Talanta Hela, ndio iserve hiyo stadium. Saa ile niliongea, akapiga simu kwa watu ya KFS akasimamisha kidogo. So wewe rais, usijaribu kurudi kwa hiyo msitu, tutakuanika tena. Si ndio? Hiyo ndio kazi yetu sasa. Hiyo ndio kazi yetu. Na watu wananipatia maripoti, silali. Hata watu wako ndani ya serikali ndio wananiambia. Kwa sababu hata hao wamechoka. Mashamba yote amechukua. Pale Davivi Naivasha amechukua. Pale Narok ya Wakipsigis na ni watu yao amechukua. Hii forest anataka kuchukua. Kedong amechukua. Pale Meru iko hoteli amejenga, kati ya hiyo county nzima iko barabara tu ya kwenda kwa hiyo hoteli ndio inaendelea.
The sudden construction of such immense building inside the forest surprised everyone, including the locals. It forced Senator Lenku to seek for a statement from the Senate Committee of Environment because he could not stomach it anymore. And because of the powers that were being associated with it, he decided to use the normal legal ways, because people would ask him, you are in the Senate, you make laws and you check the president, go and find out. And he decided to follow the same protocol.
Matter of national concerns regarding the ongoing construction of a hotel within Ngong Forest adjacent to a sanctuary area. Mr. Speaker, sir, civil societies organizations, including the Green Belt Movement, and the general public have raised serious concerns over the constructions of a hotel within the protected forest reserves. This development seriously breaches environmental protection laws, planning regulations, and public trust. In the statement, the committee should address the following: the identity of the developer currently constructing the hotel within the Ngong Road Forest, the finding of the environmental impact assessments for the constructions of projects, and whether the public was informed and or involved in the assessment as completed by the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, whether the construction project was approved by relevant authorities, including the Kenya Forest Service, the relevant or county governments, and the National Environmental Management Authority.
Now, when the broad-based government was formed, again, William Ruto thought that with Raila on his side and the broad-based on his side, they had formed a very powerful praise and worship team that would always be talking about Mtukufu Rais. He thought he had killed it. But as I told you, Kenya has never fallen short of people who would speak on behalf of the downtrodden, on behalf of the weak. And whenever they realize that there is someone who stands in front and calls the shot, they will follow. So when Rigathi Gachagua associated William Ruto with this, construction, Edwin Sifuna and Boniface Halwale decided that they were not going to keep quiet, even if the broad-based government members, the praise and worship team, are still going to shield or pretend that they don't know that this is going on. They would speak. And today, they terrorized the Senate. There was fireworks because they were just one step short of calling William Ruto head on that indeed, Mr. President, this is you.
Just a few weeks ago, I think it is not more than a month, the cabinet secretary responsible for the environment was here with us. And part of the problem we raised with the way that the Kenya Forest Service manages public relations is that they never tell the public when they are planning to do something or engage even the stakeholders in the community when they are developing plans for anything to do with our forests. You will wake up one day and Karura Forest is trending, they are cutting trees, they have not told anybody, and then they come and tell you they were harvesting mature trees. Now, Honorable Speaker, they have gone into Ngong Road Forest, and out of the blue, somebody is building a hotel in the middle of the forest without telling anybody. Honorable Speaker, it takes the locals there, the people, the neighbors, to raise the alarm and say there's something that is happening in the forest, for them to come out. And then I saw the chief conservator of forests coming there and saying, oh, the project is above board. Our constitution requires transparency. When you are dealing with public property, all it takes, Honorable Speaker, is for KFS to tell us, these are the plans for this particular forest, engage the stakeholders, engage the public, let us have NEMA on board, so that we are all clear that there is a project that is happening and this is how it's going to benefit us, especially when it comes to conservation of a forest. But this issue of them waiting for social media outrage, then they come and tell us, oh, this thing is above board. Honorable Speaker, we need to call out the Kenya Forest Service.
Ladies and gentlemen, why is it that every time there is an altercation about some land, then you hear Ruto's name featuring? Are Kenyans so unfair to this extent? Or is William Ruto such a greedy person? Has his greed reached this extent? Because there can only be two reasons. One, that Kenyans hate William Ruto so much that they would even drag his name where he has got no interest at all. And that will be very unfortunate. The second one would be that William Ruto is so greedy that apart from the wealth that he has amassed, he will still go to the extent of building some land inside a forest, public land with public interest. Just the other day when 6 people were being shot in Angata, his name featured. Who is this who is dragging William Ruto's name in every land? Or why is William Ruto so greedy that he does not want to see any land? Which of those would explain this situation? When pupils were being tear gassed some years back, is it the Olympic this school next to Western Hotel, Ruto's Hotel? It was alleged that Western Hotel wanted to expand, and they wanted some part of the land that belongs to school. Was that true? Tell me it was not, because you cannot be an individual who wants everything for yourself, yet it is something that belongs to the public. Who is dragging Ruto's name? Who is mudslinging Ruto? Or why is he such a greedy person? Ladies and gentlemen, it's traumatizing me to imagine that an individual would want to selfishly gain from public property. I can't imagine. Why is William Ruto's name featuring in every corrupt deal? The offices of the Auditor General and the Control of Budget keeps on mentioning that there's a lot of wastage and corruption in those offices. So, do we say that even these independent institutions are dragging Ruto's name? Let me ask you, why is every deal that William Ruto undertakes is viewed with a lot of suspicion? Why? Why is there trust deficit between Kenyans and William Samoei Ruto? Ladies and gentlemen, our president has lied to us so much that it has become a norm. No one understands or trusts the president. But I want us to look at 3 things. As someone who's not privy to some documents that belong to Ngong Forest, there are a few things that you'd even look at and you'll justify that these deals are done to benefit someone and they're done in secret. I want us to look at just 3. 1, William Ruto must not think that by the mere fact that he's the presidency that he believes he was given by the people of Kenya through a democratic means in the ballot. And he saw using a Bible and a sword, not by himself, but he swore by the name of God, and he swore knowing very well and taking cognizant that Kenyans have donated those powers, and he is exercising his powers on behalf of Kenyans. And therefore, he must not behave as if he is a sole proprietor in Kenya. Kenya does not belong to him. Public participation is something that must be guaranteed. It is guaranteed in our constitution that before you undertake something that you know is not private, this is not his egg selling business that he tells us he started, with. You must involve all the stakeholders in every undertaking that William Ruto has done since he became president. Every one of them lacks public participation. Stakeholders are not involved. And if at all there is public participation, it is done for as a mere formality. Because the end has always been decided. Let me ask you, sales and leasing of parastatals. Just the other day, Anyang' Nyong'o and some of the leaders from Western Kenya were crying that in as much as leasing of sugar mills and factories is necessary, because there is no way we are going to allow the mills, the sugar factories to lie idle, yet we can involve private-public partnership. But Ngong is saying that this is done without transparency. It is done without public participation. Look at Adani deal. How Adani got into this, the Kenyan deal to, facelift our the JKIA International Airport. Done in secret, without transparency, without public participation. People are kept in the dark. I want you to look at something that we just talked about, removal of the public seal from the office of the Attorney General. What motivated that thought? Because I understand it went through Parliament, but after that, it was secretly implemented. What motivates an idea? Why would you do that? And you are doing it at a time when the Attorney General is saying that no one is listening to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm only telling you that the reason why people view what William Ruto does with a lot of suspicion is because he does them without public participation. He does not involve stakeholders, and there is no transparency. They are done very secretly. And when you come to think of it and the way he has lied to Kenyans, then we are human. We are bound to believe that every little thing that William Ruto does is bogus. In the case of the sales of parastatals or leasing or building a hotel inside a forest, there is what we call environmental assessment. Kenyans must understand what is the degree of the environmental assessment impact. That is something must be looked at. If it is the case of public land or leasing, you must tell people, does it have value for taxpayers? Because we cannot continue to allow this government to undertake things unilaterally. Even the removal of, I remember, the removal of subsidies, the introduction of GMO, people refused. But William Ruto has always told us that he's learned, and so if you are going against what he's saying, if you're opposing him, then you are either mad or stupid. In other words, we have a president who feels that he's got the monopoly of knowledge. We've got a president who, whether, by the way, people keep on telling me on the channel that he advises his advisors on how to advise him. And he keeps on recruiting more advisors. Ladies and gentlemen, it took the sweat of blood, the sweat and the blood of Wangari Maathai to protect our environment, to protect our lands. Moi wanted to build, had allowed building and construction in Uhuru Park. It took the intervention of activists led by Wangari Maathai, the Green Belt movement, and they were beaten. I want to drag in what the Kalenjin nation has always told us, that, because we have a Kalenjin president, he is hated just because he's a Kalenjin president. Moi was a Kalenjin president. He wanted to take away Uhuru Park. William Ruto is a Kalenjin president. Under his watch, our forests are being mutilated. Then come to think of it, a president who, championed the cause about climate change. We've had 2 holidays in this country. A day that William Ruto has declared that we're not going to work, we are simply planting trees. Then a president who has led planting trees, afforestation and reforestation, is the one who is also being accused of, building a hotel inside a forest in the capital city, a city that has been known as a green city. It would be so unfortunate if you've got too much penchant for material gain that you don't care that this is a public property. It reaches a point when human beings would want to say, God will intervene. Rigathi Gachagua said it. No one has come up to demystify the ownership of the person building there. And so it leaves room for speculation. No one, not the CS, environment, not name and all that. Let me tell you, I have repeated that William Ruto is a good man. He's a father, he's a husband. By now I think he should be a grandfather now. But he's not good enough to be the president of this country. By the way, I have nothing personal against William Ruto. He's such a good man. But not good to be our president. Because you cannot preside over a government that is now allowing construction of land, of houses inside the forest, logging in our forest. But at the same time, you want the whole world to see you as a person who champions, who's the champion of climate change, and you plant trees. Rigathi has said it, Sifuna is demanding, and Halwale is saying that our parliament must rise up to protect our environment, our forests. The problem is we have a parliament that has been captured, dancing to Kasongo's tune. This is the same parliament that passed Finance Bill 2024, and Gen Zs went to the streets and they were killed. This is the same parliament that we understand passed, amended the law to allow the public seal to be taken from the Attorney General's office to Felix Kosgei, head of public service. In other words, they don't even interrogate what motivates William Ruto's, bills in parliament. Akisema wewe pass, then Kimani Chungwa, is the majority leader, would rally his troops and they simply pass it. They negate their role of oversight. They should check first before they pass these laws. Ladies and gentlemen, our country is headed to the wrong direction and we need to rise up. 2027 is our date with the destiny. It is a make or break, and it starts today. Let us register as voters. Let us sensitize each other. Let youth wake up and subject themselves to these leadership positions because the future belongs to them. We must rescue our country, and the time is now or never.